Hello, dear parish family. I wanted to reach out to you today in this special moment on Christmas Eve, in this sort of threshold between a season of hopeful anticipation and a moment where our own eyes get to behold that God makes good on his promises, that he is indeed Emmanuel, God with us. So I wanted to reach out to you through this message in order to share with you some of the thoughts on my heart, especially concerning this past year, and how I'm understanding it, how it's coming to my mind and to my heart as I look at the events of this past year, especially for our parish in particular, through the eyes of the infant Lord. And, it makes me think of a poem written by one of my favorite poets, Father Gerard Manley Hopkins, a Jesuit who had such a command of the English language that he can seemingly bend and stretch it to an extent where it could be just as powerful, just as potent as any language. I would argue that very few have the ability to do as he did. And what comes to mind as I think about Christmas and the year that we've experienced is one of his poems called The Wreck of the Deutschland, where he uses the word Easter in a very unusual way. He writes, "Easter in us," using the word Easter not as a noun, but as a verb, asking Christ to Easter in our hearts. That is, to rise within us, to bring us into a state of being, such that in our hearts, in the very depth of who we are, Christ might also rise from the dead and give us new life and new hope. I thought about this poem and of his use of Easter as I think about Christmas, where I would like to argue that I think and truly feel that Christ has Christmased in us as a parish. You see, there's a temptation that sometimes we have as Christians that, because we're, of course, people who are visual and tactile, because we're human, that somehow the realities that we celebrate of our faith are only kind of valid, or we only really pay attention to them at that time of the year. And so naturally, this time of the year brings us to think of incarnation and of what it is for God to be among us, for the Word to become flesh. And yet, I feel that Jesus, by our own plea and by our own willingness to cooperate with his grace, has been able to Christmas in us throughout this year. I don't have to continue telling you, as everyone else has acknowledged to no short extent, that this year has been crazy. It reminds me that to be a parish priest is no less tall a task than any other sort of challenge one could look toward. I have not been bored. You'd think it would be otherwise, but I have not been bored. I certainly have not been without my own personal struggles, and have found it a struggle to both keep hope as a person and to do so as a leader. Nevertheless, I have noticed that the Christmas miracle has accompanied me throughout this time, and it has done so through you. In this age, this new time where we have had to get used to social distancing, I have certainly not felt emotionally distant from any of you. I have not felt spiritually distant from any of you. No, don't get me wrong, things aren't ideal, and this is not where I'd like to be, as I'm certain it's not where you'd like to be. As we understand our normal faith life and our life in general, nevertheless, I really feel as if I've gotten to see the Christmas miracle happen throughout 2020, by the way you have reached out in abundance, with intentionality, with purpose, with affection, in so many ways to support one another and to support me as your pastor. I'm not telling you this because I want to bring the focus toward me. I'm telling you this so that you may realize what you're capable of. That I remain incredibly proud to be the pastor of such an amazing, resilient, hopeful, and faithful people. You see, throughout this year, we have faced every kind of challenge we can imagine. From dealing with our own insecurities as individuals, to overcoming hurdles of family dysfunction, to, of course, the amazing amount of waves of grief, loss, fear, anxiety that we've all dealt with, that has all rocked the shores on which our houses are built. Nevertheless, in the midst of all of it, I have known the comfort of your goodness. I have seen Christ, Christmas in you, as you picked up the phone to share with me a few good words, as you stopped by from time to time in order just to wave or to drop off something, a card with good words, to share a moment, or even through the mask, I could see your eyes smile and see that you were trying to reach out the best you could to show that regardless of the circumstances, our bond is intact. Because we are not merely friends. We are not merely people on a journey together, but we are Christians held together by the strongest bond of them all. Christ, who is with us and in us and surrounding us. Naturally, during this Christmas time, is a wonderful thing to see all the ways, and you have been no less generous than any other year in reaching out to me, but you've done this all year long. You've shown yourself to be capable, more than capable, of accepting the torch that is the light of Christ and carried it into my world, and I'm certain into each other's as well. You've done this by continuing to reach out, and of course in your patience with me as I reevaluate what it is to minister in the time of COVID, what it is to figure out our different roles in a time where everything looks so different. Nevertheless, I have not for one moment felt the lack of your support or to go without your prayers. You've been there. So maybe this Christmas, a much simpler one, albeit in many ways a very different one, we might ask the Lord to continue to Christmas in us. Look at what we're capable of as a faith community when we decide to allow the Lord into our hearts and to reach out to one another. We're powerful, more than powerful, unstoppable as a force, unquenchable as a light. When we live our baptism by allowing Jesus to Christmas in us, then we bring his presence to everyone we meet and to everyone who encounters us, because they see not us, but him through us. That's the power that you hold, dear family. That's the goodness that you have done in taking care of the parish and making sure these lights can stay on, in being patient with me as I figure out how to work technology that I haven't encountered quite this way before. As you have found new ways to pray with your family, to minister to those in your own world, thus making the faith not just something that happens to you, but something that you give to others. I'm proud of you. I'm proud to be your pastor. And I want you to know that on behalf of myself, Deacon Donald, Deacon Jerry, our staff, our lay ministers, that I wish you a most happy Christmas. and a new year filled with great hope, not only because of what may happen, but mostly because of the light that you carry within you and allow to shine by good actions, good deeds, good words. Friends, I want to finish with some beautiful words by Teresa of Avila, the great mystic Spanish saint, who said, "Christ has no body now but yours, no hands, no feet on earth but yours. Yours are the eyes through which he looks compassion on this world. Yours are the feet with which he walks to do good. Yours are the hands through which he blesses all the world. Yours are the eyes, you are his body. Christ has no body now on earth but yours." Friends, as you celebrate this very unique Christmas, and I'm sure a very simple one, in many ways a difficult ordeal and experience, remember that you have definitely touched my life. And that because of that, it means you're capable of doing so much to teach this still very young priest what it is to understand how God can Christmas in us, how the Word can become flesh. That's all you, friends. Let's continue to support each other by our prayers. And Merry Christmas.